I remember I found this when I was scrolling, I think my Instagram the other day, and I wanted to save it for a video. So this is about Donald Trump being a rapist.
So the president of the United States is not a rapist. And I regret to inform those of you who believe that you've been lied to.
I don't understand how anybody in America that has two functioning brain cells can actually think that the president of our United States is a massive pedophile rapist when literally at any point, he's already been on trial for all of this shit. He lost a civil suit, which mean fucking nothing, by the way. And if you were to hear the details of that civil suit, you realize where they're complete jokes to fucking begin with. But if you actually think Donald Trump is this mass rapist and he's still got into office, you're out of your mind.
Let's debunk this. The big thing people point to is E. Jean Carroll. She was a magazine writer, and back in the 90s, she met Trump. They flirted a little. She helped him pick out lingerie. Then she went into the dressing room with him to...
Yeah, so apparently this chick called like E. Jean Carroll was flirting with Trump. They went into a dressing room together. And then 25 years later, she said that Donald Trump raped her. All criminal charges, all police investigations were dropped. They couldn't even get grounds to stand on to even begin the investigation. But he lost that civil suit 25 years later, just in case you're wondering how easy it is to win one of those, even on people like the president of the United States. And guys, surprise, surprise, she went to the most liberal fucking town with the most biased judges she could possibly do in order to get away with this shit.
Try on said lingerie and then claims that she was sexually assaulted. So 25 years later, she decides to go public with the story right when her book comes out called What Do We Need Men For? So Trump obviously says, this is a lie. She's doing it for money and to hurt me. So even though 25 years had passed and the window of legal opportunity to sue was closed, they made a special law for her so she could open up an old SA claim.
In case you don't know, weaponizing women's incompetence and weaponizing women's victimhood is how they're silencing a lot of great men in this nation. The same thing happened to people like Conor McGregor, Donald Trump, even some content creators like Tobuscus, Saikuno, Rich Campbell. They encourage these women to go after men who are killing it in their industry because playing it by the books and leaving things up to as the dice roll, people don't want to do that. And so people see that Donald Trump was poised to be a position of power, to be a president, not once, but twice. And they said, well, you know what'll really get him? Let's just get a woman to lie about him. But the reality is that people are waking up and they're starting to realize there is way too many cases of this. I'm actually curious what would have happened if I were to Google this. Over the past 10 years, how many allegations towards prominent figures or celebrities or content creators were ever proven true rather than false? Give me a percent. I'm actually curious because you would think all of these allegations would probably be around more than 95% true, but the reality is they're more like 90% false. I actually can't even remember the last time a woman was telling the truth about a sexual assault or rape claim. I literally can't even remember it. 90 to 98% are not classified as false. Yeah, fucking right, bro. No celebrity-specific study overrides the general finding that false allegations, especially sexual misconduct, are a small minority. Roughly 2 to 10% of rigorous analysis, meaning 90 to 98% are not classified as false, but they're not classified as true either. That means they're still up to interpretation. And I'm sorry, bro, if you come at these and you can't prove anything, and you throw out these Molotov cocktails, and you say, well, deal with it. I mean, even Grok is fucking biased towards shit. Well, they're not classified as false, but they're not saying they're classified as true either. Because if you can't prove yourself 100% innocent, people say, well, the jury's still out. I guess we'll never know. And so people have a reasonable grounds to think that you're a creep. And it's fucking outrageous. That's why the scale is tipped so heavily in women's favor. It's pathetic.
Then she lodged a civil case against him in 2023.
True? I know.
Not a criminal case, a civil case, meaning an uber liberal jury in Manhattan.
Yeah, so the difference between a criminal case and a civil case, for anybody who doesn't know, is that a criminal case requires proof and evidence for you to be convicted, and the judge needs to be 99.9% sure beyond any reasonable doubt to know that you are in fact guilty. That is what a criminal case is. A civil case is a 50-50, and I want to tell you something that you guys need to hear in case you don't know this. A civil case does not require evidence. A civil case does not require proof. You can lose a civil case off of personal testimony alone if the judge gets bad vibes of the person who's being accused. Yes, in a civil case for sexual assault, SA, or harassment, you can lose, i.e., be found liable based primarily or solely off of the plaintiff's personal testimony. Yes, you heard that right. In civil cases, you can lose and be held civilly liable off of what somebody said with no proof, with no evidence whatsoever, if you can get the judge to believe your story. If you don't think that that is fucking horrifying, that you can have someone's life completely obliterated just because one person said it, I don't know what else to tell you. And if our president of our United States can be found civilly liable for SA from an unopened case that got reopened 25 years later that was based off of personal testimony and personal testimony alone, I need you to realize how much the court justice system favors women. It is disgusting. That is disgusting.
A criminal case, a civil case, meaning an uber liberal jury in Manhattan, who likely all hated the former president, just had to decide there's over a 50% shot that he did this thing 25 years ago.
25 years ago, with no proof, because this woman went to a liberal county with a liberal biased judge who had a pre-existing negative bias towards Donald Trump, who said, yeah, I'd like to fuck over this guy because I don't like his political opinions. Guys, would you believe me if I told you there are people who lost civil suits due to mean tweets they've put out? Yes, you can be found civilly liable for sexual assault if you tweet mean things. I'm not even joking you. Let's keep going here.
In a criminal case, you need evidence beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yep.
In a civil case, you don't. So Carol's big donor Democrat-funded lawyers used the civil track to bring an SA case, not a criminal case, because they did not have nearly enough evidence for that. Not to mention zero DNA evidence linked Trump to the black lingerie dress she wore during the try-on haul. She couldn't even provide a timeline for when it happened. On the witness stand, she said she couldn't remember what year it was. She had two old...
Well, I can't remember what year it was, and it was 25 years ago, maybe, but I'm pretty sure he touched me in the locker room. Huh. Well, he is a Republican. You know what? I'm sold. You're right. Donald Trump's a rapist. Welcome to the court justice system for civil cases in America. What a joke.
Friends as corroboration who said she called them upset 25 years ago, but that was it. There was no police records, no medical records, no security video. And again, it was a custom-made case for her, funded by Democrats in Trump's most hostile city, decided in front of a Clinton-appointed judge. I'm not saying he's an angel by any means, okay? But we have...
I am saying Donald Trump's an angel. I'm going to go even further to say I think Donald Trump is one of the best presidents we've had in decades. He's a hell of a lot better than Sleepy Joe. He's a hell of a lot better than that retard Obama who's dating Big Mike. Absolutely. 100%. You want to know why? Because at least Donald Trump at the beginning of his term actually fucking did something. Okay, and after the midterms, once he has to stop pandering to get votes to make sure that he stays in office, I'm sure he's going to go back to actually doing things once again. The only thing Donald Trump handled poorly during his elect in office is his handling of the Epstein files. That's it. He should have released him fully unredacted. And nobody could say anything because he was fucking obliterating it before. That's the only PR hit he took.
To be honest about these things, he might have been flirty and forward, as most rich men are, but he's not a rapist. You keep lying and saying he is, and it's leading crazy people to shoot at him.
Yep.
Disagree with policy, let's have that debate, but defaming him just because you don't like him isn't fair.
Yep. It's incredibly cringe, and that's what liberals do, is they don't know how to dissect someone's political points, so they just call you a rapist. Anyways, Donald Trump is very clearly not a rapist. If you continue to say that, you are just retarded. You may not like to hear that, but you are.